Hi, I'm Gary Cox, and I'm a Senior Technical Consultant with Bluefish Development Group. Today we're going to do a short video talking about Lucene, and specifically Lucene stop words and how it relates to Alfresco. This actually is from a client deployment we were working on, and this is actually only relevant really to 3.4. Once you've moved to 4.x and you're using Solar, this will no longer be an issue. But in versions before 4.0 where you're using Lucene, this can be a problem. So basically a stop word in Lucene is a word that's ignored by the indexer. And if any of those stop words, and they're typically in English going to be articles, like a, an, or, the, they, will, those types of words. And they're basically not indexed. Normally you'll never worry about it. And when you do a search, an advanced search or some other place, you'll complete the search and you want those words ignored anyway, and it'll go off and your keywords will come back in the search results. But if you have a situation where you are reliant on a word that happens to be a stop word for your search results, then you can run into trouble. In our case, we had folder names that were codes. They weren't normal English words. And sure enough, some of those codes were a, an, or, and other words similar to that were actually ignored by Lucene. And we went back and needed to search against those for some Lucene queries we were doing. And oddly enough, those folders didn't come back. It's because the articles were ignored. There were stop words within Lucene. So that was a kind of a challenge to us because in this use case, we actually really needed those to come back as search results. We didn't want those to be ignored. So there were a couple of things we investigated as ways to get around this. Sort of the most simple one would be in the property file, for the property for that field, just change it to not do tokenization. And if you turn that off for that field, that property rather, in the model, then it'll basically index everything. Unfortunately, there's some weird side effects that we didn't expect in that the search then becomes case sensitive. And so you have this one field that all of a sudden is case sensitive, whereas it hadn't been before. We felt that would be really confusing for our end users because in most cases that was not an issue. For this one particular field, we'd have case sensitive searches. So the other route that we chose to go down was to override the basically standard analyzer that's used by Lucene. This actually is a class within Lucene that has a static list, an array basically, of these stop words. So it's actually not defined in a property file, it's not in an XML file, it's actually within a Lucene class. But the good news is you can override that class and then point at it from a property. And that makes life much easier once you can actually override this and point to basically an empty array. So that even if you have stop words, there's no words in that list, in that array, and you can basically index everything. The advantage of that also is that if you do this on a per field basis, then your other fields will behave normally and you don't have to worry about it. They still won't return results for articles, and that normally is a good thing. The one other side effect here is obviously anything that's already in the system, when you change the standard analyzer, it has already been indexed. So if you have a large body of data that's already in the system, you will have to go through and re-index the data because it will have already been ignored when the index was originally created. But that may be a small price to pay to be able to come back and search the fields that you need to search for. And again, really, this is only an issue with Lucene. Once we move to Solar, it's been sort of more internationalized, more multilingual focus, and it doesn't have this English set of stop words that cause a problem. So that's it, basically. Just wanted to provide that information. It's something you may not run into ever, but if you do, it can be kind of a head scratcher trying to figure out, why your code name folders don't come back in a search result or certain document names don't come back. But it may be because of the Lucene stop words. Thank you.